Hello and welcome to another video in RunGB's World Thunder Plane Analysis. Today we are going to take a look at the P51 Mk.IA. This is going to be complement yesterday's video about the P51D. And well, this is the British version of the P51A. And I'm going to put this plane analysis mostly in a comparative way. Because what I'm going to do is to take what you already know because you saw the P51D analysis. I'm going to compare that plane with this one. First of all, this is a level 11 British premium plane, which has a maximum repair cost of 3,500 lions in arcade and 10,000 lions almost in historical battles. The P51D which is here, and you can see it's practically the same size, but has a bubble top and a bigger radiator, but other than that it's very similar. The story of this plane actually starts with British try to purchase P51s from the United States, the Warhawks. They approached North Americans to see if they could manufacture some for them, and North American answered that they could actually design a better plane in 30 days. The British were like, yeah, well, whatever. But indeed, North America designed this plane in less than 3 weeks, and less than a month and a half later, they already had a wooden mock-up. And in very small time, they already had a flying prototype. And the British were both amazed at how fast the design process had worked and how promising the plane was. So they ended up purchasing it. The P51A, which was actually, I don't think it actually saw service in the United States Air Forces, but was exported to the United Kingdom and flew like the Mustang Mk.IA. The A was a later addition, and you're going to see why, because this is the paint scheme of a P51D actually, so you can see them. It's pretty curious. But with the standard camo, you're going to see the A had 4 20mm guns. The main difference, the main main thing that differentiates the first Mustangs, the P51A, from the B and D versions that came later was the engine. This had an Allison B1710 inline engine with a single stage supercharger. This was basically the same engine that powered the Aira Cobra. And you all know, and if you don't, it was that way. The Aira Cobra was a heavily disliked plane by the Western pilots because it simply didn't perform at an altitude. Over 3,000 meters, they simply would drop its output and gasp for air. And the plane performance actually suffered a lot. And in this plane was no different. This plane had exactly the same engine and supercharger, and of course that meant that at high altitudes the plane didn't perform very well. So the British, what they did was to take what was a very good airframe and they just plugged it in a Merlin engine from a Spitfire, and they saw that the results were pretty much staggering. The Americans, when they saw that, they were at first a little bit taken aback because they didn't like to put a plane for their air forces with a British engine, but in the end they had to bow down to the greatness of the design with the Merlin engine. So they licensed the Merlin engine, they started building it as the Packard Merlin, and they plugged it into the airframe, and the P51B was created. And from then, the evolution of the series, then the D came with 6 machine guns and a bubble top, and etc, etc, etc. But this here is the original plane with an Allison engine, and that's a problem for several reasons. First of all, the plane is as big as the P51D. It's the same size, basically. The dimensions are very close. It's almost as heavy as the P51D, and the P51D was a pretty heavy plane. But it had an engine that was rated 400 horsepower less than the Merlin. The Allison was rated at 1300 horsepower at takeoff, and the Merlin was at 1750 horsepower at takeoff. So that means this plane had 400 horsepower less than the P-51D. And of course, if you take a plane that's pretty heavy and you take 400 horsepower out of it, what you end up is with a underpowered plane. And basically that's the problem with this plane, is underpowered. The engine simply doesn't have the power to cope with the weight of the plane. And as such, it has a very limited acceleration and climb rate. This plane accelerates and climbs, I'm not going to say bad, but certainly it doesn't accelerate and climb very well. And that is the single most biggest drawback of this plane. It doesn't accelerate or climb any good. But at the same time, it's still a P-51, and it still has the same laminar flow wings with very low drag, has the same well-harmonized controls for high speeds, and it has monster firepower, which means that this plane is still an excellent boom and thumper, but one that you have to handle with a lot of caution, because as soon as you lose your speed, it's game over, because you're not going to take it back no matter what. So the characteristic of this plane compared with the Mustang D is pretty much the same. It's an excellent diver, an incredible zoomer, very good controllability, high speeds, very high terminal velocity in dives, and very good controllability at those speeds. But the problem comes when you take into account that the Mustang, the American one, the P-51D, climbs and accelerates much better than this plane. And the P-51D is not exactly the best climber or accelerator around. So that's the main problem. Of course, it compensates that with this. These are 4 Hispano Mark II cannons, which, as you can see, are very tightly grouped in its wing. So even if you hit out of convergence, you are hitting at least with 2. And individually taken, these don't hit as hard as the German 20mm, because these weapons don't have the German Minengessos ammunition. Actually, what they have are, well, I go for omnipurpose and stealth. What they have is a mix of API and high explosive. You can see it's a lot more high explosive in the stealth one with some reserve API. I go with either of both, depends on the day. If I have a day where I'm hitting everything and I have a good sense of the aim, I go for stealth. If I'm having problem hitting things, omnipurpose to use the tracers. What I was saying is that the cannons one by one don't do as much damage as an individual MG151, the German one, but taken as a group, those are 4 cannons, and if you hit at convergence, these things shred. And if you hit out of convergence, you still are dealing a lot of damage with these weapons. They do a lot of structural damage, and I mean, they are not very hard to aim. They have a very tense trajectory, so they are easy to aim with. So yeah, this is the strongest points compared with the P-51D. The P-51D has 50 cals that do the job, but don't hit as hard as these things. This is monster firepower. As you may have seen, it has 500 rounds of ammunition total. I think it's 150 for the inner ones and 100 for the outer ones, or all the way around. I don't know. The thing is, before 1.29 came, this thing had a huge lot of ammunition, maybe 400 rounds per wing, which was a lot. You could spam the trigger all the time and you would get a lot of kills and you would have no problem because you would never run out of ammunition. Well, now you do. But still, with that more limited ammo capacity, you are going to have enough to kill a lot of enemies in one single load. So that's not a big drawback. Another thing about this plane is that it's not very sturdy. Its engine is made of glass. It's very easy to damage it. It's not rare to go on fire in this plane. and it's very it's very sensitive to wind damage. It's one of those planes where if you get a red wing, you are going to have a lot of trouble maneuvering. If you get a black wing, well, you can imagine it. But other than that, it flies very similar to the Mustang. It simply takes a lot more to bring up the plane to an altitude, and then it also has problems keeping the fight up high, because if you climb with this thing at 5,000 meters, the engine at that altitude is not producing a huge lot of power, so you have trouble in that sense. But as long as you have energy advantage, this is science. But of course, as in all boom and thumbers, and in all pure boom and thumbers, once you are low and slow, you are as good as dead. So pure boom and thumb, and remember, don't get greedy. If you get greedy in this plane and you get tunnel vision and you get fixated in one enemy, you're going to pay for that. So, well, enough for the intro. Let's see some action. So, here we are in Berlin, and I can tell you this was a pretty good team, the one I had. Because at least it wasn't full of tree huggers and grasshoppers going at lower level. We had some of those, but most of the people climbed it. Here you can see that the plane doesn't climb very well. I'm at 240 kilometers per hour, and I mean, I'm not climbing that fast. It takes a long while to climb at an altitude. You want to know as well that this plane in historical battles don't have a web setting. Your top power is 100%. You can't use web. This means, of course, that you are never going to overheat this engine, which is not bad news, but also means that you can't use extra power when needed. So yeah, that's one of the other limitations compared with the Mustang, with the P51D. And yeah, well, the main problem is slow climbing. Looking around, you can see there are much higher friendlies than me. Well, right now you can see. There you go. Because everything outclimbs this plane. I mean, everything. Even XP38Gs, which right now suck badly, outclimb this plane. So you just want to keep your mindset and your fighting style to not depend on climb rate or acceleration. So make sure you climb enough before coming into a fight, and be sure of keeping and carrying a lot for your speed. Don't do very high G maneuvers, because those will slow you down a lot. If you start pulling a lot of E's, your plane will slow down, and it takes ages, and I tell you, eons, to take your speed back, because it's underpowered. It's as simple as that. Again, by the way, you are looking at a P51B. This is a P51B camouflage. So the cannons, you can't see them, but they are there, and they hit exactly the same. I like this. I like this camo. I like the invasion strips a lot. And actually, I think my favorite Mustang is the P51B, not the D, because the D, I don't know, there's something weird with that bubble top camo. The bubble top canopy, I mean. I like the Razorback, this one. I like it more. It's more classical, maybe. But whatever. Let's move forward and see some engagements. So here we are at 3,800 meters. At this altitude, you really want to start thinking about leveling up, or at least, I mean, the engine power at this altitude is noticeable worse. So you climb, the higher you go, the slower you climb. So if there's no need to climb higher, just 4,000 meters will do. Of course, if you spot enemies at higher altitudes, keep on climbing. In this game, I saw there were no Germans incoming at higher altitude, so I went for a level run as soon as I hit 4,000. There are a couple BF-109 there. And what I'm going to do is to engage. Always remembering boom and thumb. Nurture your speed, nurture your energy, and use it wisely. I see a lower one, but I want to go with the higher one first. And also we have a B25 in serious trouble there. So the lower 109 is engaged. I'll go for the two higher ones. BF109E and G. And here I'm going to make a mistake, and I'll talk later about that. BF109E, I get a very good burst on the wing. He's got damage wing. I go up. And this time focus on the BF109G. Again, remember, don't be greedy. The E has a very damaged wing. He probably is in serious trouble to maneuver right now. And the G is much bigger of a threat at this moment. So I'm going to go down for the G1, which is down there. But he's diving. Instead, this one is staying high. And higher targets first. And here the mistake I committed before was that I saw a BF109E and a BF109G. And I got the names right. And I thought the guy with the E was the one that has a G, and the one that has a G was the one that has an E. This is a little bit strange right now, but you'll see later why this was important. And again, this comes down to poor situational awareness and to a total confusion on my part. But whatever, back to the action. You can see I'm not diving like mad behind those guys. I'm taking care of my speed and altitude. I'm taking care of my energy. I see there are no enemy fighters at my altitude anymore, so I feel free to boom and zoom that particular one, which is turning back to base. So I dive. Look at this. Look at how well this thing dives, and how well builds speed in a not that steep dive. So I come behind him. He tries to evade. I just open fire and game over. First kill. Pure zoom. We want to take as much altitude back as we can. I spot a lower 109, a Henkel 112, further than that. The 112 is a plane I know is very limited. I know it well because I fly it a lot. So, taking a look around, I'm going to go for this BF109. I see he's damaged, and he's coming back to base, and I don't want him to repair and come back at full strength. So I'm going to put pressure on him to see if I can kill him or for him to crash. Of course, he's not blind. He sees me coming, and he starts maneuvering. Get a hit or two on the tail, zoom away, keeping an eye behind all the time. He's trying to come up for me, so I'm keeping the vertical move. And when I spot that he's very low on speed, I will come down. But pure vertical. Here, he's hanging on his prop, so hammerhead. Aim for him. Correct my approach. And totally miss the shot. Well, he actually avoided very well. In the moment I was about to open fire, he simply moved out of my shooting range. What I'm going to do. Another bounce. Another miss. Zooming away, looking around. The 112 is coming to help the 109. So I want to finish this guy off before that other guy comes and starts prostering me. Move again in the pure vertical. I want to save as much as energy as I can before coming back. Because now this is going to be a 1 on 2. I have the energy, but the plane, again, doesn't accelerate very well, doesn't climb very well, so the energy I can have, well, the better. Again, P51 maneuvering, correction, and this time I'll do a good burst on him, and he's dead. Zooming away because I know the Henkel 112 is not coming for me. Vertical move. Now go on the horizontal a bit to accelerate in the horizontal. Because that guy is pretty close to me. And I know, I mean, this is one of the worst accelerators in the game, but this guy behind me accelerates even worse. I know the Henkel 112 very well. So I just win some speed, then move up in the vertical again to use my altitude differential to my benefit. Come in the vertical, pure vertical move. And then we go in a hammerhead. Deploy flaps to help us maneuvering now. And winning the proper shot. Some hits. And he's on fire. Enough for me. Because the fire eventually will consume him. Or at least that I think. Because in my experience, each time I have been set on fire on a 112, I have died because of the fire. So I check for further targets. Come down. But what do you know? I might never survive fires in the Henkel 112, but that guy just did. Still, he's very damaged, so I'm not worried about him. Check scores. One BF1 is trying to land. I'm not going to go for that. You know I don't like strafing guys. So in the runway, so I go up. Keep an eye on the 112 because I can't believe he's going to make it. I simply can't. I mean, I refuse to admit it, but he doesn't. So in the end, it was all good. And here, you are going to see where is the mistake that I was telling you about. There's a BF109 there. And you can see it's a G. But I'm not paying attention to that right now. Right now I was trying to get a hit. Now Junkers 87. I come, totally miss most shots, but put some of them. And the problem here is that that guy behind me, the BF109G, is the same one that was pursuing the bomber before. And as I told you, I took the names totally wrong. I think that guy is in a BF109E, not a G. So I'm feeling pretty confident to come down back and try to finish off the Junkers 87 with the few rounds I have left, because I think I can easily outrun the other guy. But I can't. And I'm going to pay for that. So, very important, situational awareness. Here I totally managed to miss all my shots in an unmaneuvering target. That's why I sometimes want Triceron. And now I look behind and I see the other guys coming for me. So I say, okay, I know that the BF109E speed is not higher than mine at low altitude, so I'm going to dive. And I dive, I win a lot of speed because this plane dives very, very well. I look back and I see a G2 drop and I say like, fuck me! Because the G2 drop is as fast as this plane. And I'm not going to outrun him. My only chance is to do a level run without maneuvering and losing my speed, because then he will catch up in no time. And try to go to that BF109 there, because I know there's a friendly going for that BF109. And he's the only support I can get. Right now, it's the only thing I can do. But I don't get that. The BF109 is dead, there's a Yak 3 there. I'm thinking, oh, come on, come on. But he destroys my tail. And game over. I didn't get the results, but were 100,000 XP and 72,000 credits. So there you saw it. Pretty effective plane. Of course, it also has the same problem the Mustang has. This plane is highly sensitive and highly dependent on a proper team to do well. Because if you go up and no one else does, it's as good as nothing. If you go up and you have your team with you, you are going to have a very fun time. This is a gift plane. You have to purchase it with gold. So, do I recommend it? I do. I do. I think this is a pretty good plane, but it has very steep drawbacks. If you don't know how to fly a boom and zoom plane, stay away from this plane. It's as simple as that. If you don't enjoy boom and zoom, don't purchase it. If you enjoy boom and zoom and you are pretty good at it, by any means purchase it because it's going to make a lot of money for you. I told you, this is just 10,000 to repair in historical battles and has the same rewards of all the other premium planes, which is 1000% extra XP and 250% extra Lions. So you can do a lot of money with this plane. But again, if you don't enjoy boom and zoom, don't purchase this plane. And if you are not proficient in boom and zoom and you are expecting to do well with it, don't purchase this plane. It's a very good learning tool, however. If you want to learn the basics of boom and zoom, this plane is very good to do so, because it has the weapons to accomplish that. So yeah, that's pretty much for this analysis. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, give me a thumbs up. Any comment you want to make in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so yet and you want to see more of these videos, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you later.